Hi, loves. Welcome to a new episode of the AW Confidential podcast. I am one of four siblings. My parents were born in the DR, Dominican Republic. We were all born in Manhattan, New York City. Around the age of 10, my parents moved us to Washington Heights. It became their home away from home. It is known as a tight knit community known mostly for its vibrant, warm, and friendly people with somewhat of old school views. We have, not we, but my parents had very um, conservative views on many things. Today's guest is one of 11 siblings. He was born in the Dominican Republic and moved to Providence, Rhode Island. I believe around the age of, and he's going to correct me, around the age of 10.
That is correct.
Okay. After high school, he moved to New York and attended Marymount Manhattan College, where he majored in drama. He studied at Ensemble Studio and is a member of the Labyrinth Theatre in New York City. The buzz around actor Manny Perez began around 2002 when he co wrote, produced, and starred in the highly praised film Washington Heights, set in our neighborhood. He won approval of film critics and was described by the New York Times as having charisma to burn, and he certainly does. The role won him the 2002 Best Actor Award at the Milan International Film Festival in Italy, one of my favorite places. I hope to move there one day. Since then, Manny has become one of the most recognizable Latino actors in Hollywood. He's had countless roles on the big and small screen, too many to name, but I will mention some. Sounds of Freedom, Night of the Sicario, Bella, Nothing Like the Holidays, El Cantante, Courage Under Fire, Party Monster, Crooklyn, Blue Bloods, The Equalizer, Law and Order, Homeland, Criminal Minds, The Blacklist, Hollywood, now Hawaii Five O, FBI Most Wanted, and so many more. Manny, too long to name. His most recent project is called La Soga Vengeance. It is a trilogy that tells the story of a deadly hitman who um let's say who uncovers a world of chaos, corruption, and betrayal when he returns to his native home for looking for revenge. The first installment of La Soga premiered in 2009 at the Toronto International Film Festival as the first ever to be screened um Dominican in the Toronto Film Festival, which is uh it's a renowned festival. So congratulations on that. He has worked with film directors like Ed Zwick, Takashi Kitano, Arthur Penn, Bob Giraldi, and many others. He's also won El Award, the Tony Bennett Excellence in Media Award, the Perry Ellis Humanitarian Award, and he received the key to his hometown in Providence. Manny also won the Humanitarian Award in DR for his charitable work with during Hurricane Noel. Manny, that was a mouthful. Congratulations.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I mean, really, thank you. I appreciate that. You did your
You know,
homework.
yes, I always do my homework, but I have to, you know, as a Dominican, you know, I feel pride, and
Well, thank you.
you make it feel like it's the dream is possible. So I had to give you your flowers. So congratulations, and I apologize for shortening it because we only have a certain amount of time.
That's fine.
Now, my first question is, as I read this, how does it feel to hear these accomplishments, and what would little Manny in the DR say to that?
Well, it's funny, I thank you for having me here. Really, it's a pleasure and an honor. And thank you for that amazing introduction. But at the end of the day, I'm I still feel like the little kid that came out of the campo and he's looking for his dream. And I'm still in search for my dream. Even though I am living my dream, I still uh, have more dreams to accomplish. So to me, it's like, hey, that's cool. Thank you. But I got more shit to do.
I
So,
love that.
so that's how I look at it. But, I am thankful and I am blessed. And every day I thank God for guiding me because it's not an easy road at all. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that because sometimes we feel like, oh, I accomplished this dream. I'm done. But no, you should have many dreams as possible in a lifetime. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Now, you have this long body of work. I did sit down to see La Soga, and that's what I want to kind of focus on. It
Good.
was impactful. It was I want to say almost sobering at moments. It was hard to watch. Now, Vengeance is part of these three installments, right?
Yes.
And I read that you wrote, directed, co-executive produced, and of course starred in the films. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
Why
work.
why was it so important for you to bring this work to life?
No, thank you. The truth is, this film is my baby. It's something very personal for me. I feel like as actors, I didn't come to this world to just uh, act and be cute in front of the camera. I came to this world to actually leave a message. And with this film, I'm leaving a message. I am talking about the corruption that is going on in Dominican Republic, not just in Dominican Republic, it's going on in Latin America. So with this character, I feel like this character is my voice. This character is what many want to say, but many's using the camera to say it. And actually, everything you see in La Soga Vengeance, which is the trilogy, this is the last of the trilogy. La Soga Vengeance is actually available for people to watch on Tubi and also on Amazon Prime. So basically, in La Soga Vengeance, everything you see there has happened or has occurred based on true events in the DR. Also with La Soga First, the part one, that actually is all based on a character, on a Sicario that the government was paying to clean the country from chaos, from the delinquencia. So this is how this whole thing came about. And so then I experienced La Soga killing a neighbor of mine in my hometown. And I really thought it was like, is this a movie? Is this for real? So the beginning of La Soga 1 is what happened in front of me as I watched this neighbor of mine get killed. So then I started doing research and I found out that the government was paying the Sicario to do that job. So then in my story, I basically took that incident and gave that guy a heart, gave him a reason why he does what he does. So in part one is about a man who's trying to clean corruption in a corrupted world. Part two is about a man who's trying to leave his past behind, but this past won't let him. Three is a man who goes out for revenge because he wants to clean himself and then realize that he's surrounded by this and there's no way for him to rid himself of his past. That sums it up for you.
Now, and thank you for that summation. Now, the film, there's so much here to unpack. The film depicts Dominican culture. I felt it was authentic. Like I felt, it didn't feel like a Hollywood movie, if you know what I mean. It felt
Yeah.
real to me. It felt raw. And there were scenes, the wave of violence caused by the immigrants that returned, from the US, the drug trafficking, the corruption, El Carnicero, which really just, I had to pause. I did have to pause. The butcher in the village, oof. And then there were these, I tend to look at things beyond like what's in front of me, right? So I saw a story of generational trauma, which is something that I've struggled with personally. Um, And I'm not sure if that was your intention. And I don't want to give too much away, but I saw how, he he
Be
seeked
careful.
revenge. I know. And I don't want to give it away. Now, you are loyal to your Dominican roots and you maintain close ties with the community. At any point when you were writing this or making the film, did you worry about the reactions in our community? Because I know for me, growing up in a Dominican family, our laundry, we don't put it out there. It's like everything is swept under the rug. I've seen violence, I've seen abuse, all that is swept under the rug. Did you worry about these stories being told?
Yeah, of course. It's funny. I want to tell you the story. Actually, I don't think no one knows this yet. And when I did La Soga 1, it was 2008. The government wanted to see the script. So what I did, I had two scripts. I had the script I took out all the elements of corruption, all the elements. I just took all that out. So I gave them that script. But we were shooting the script that I wanted to shoot. So they read it like, oh, this is fine. Yeah, continue doing what you're doing. Thank you for representing us in Hollywood. I'm like, well, thank you. So that's what happened. So that when the film came out and went into Toronto, which is huge, the LA Times wrote 4 articles about this corruption that's happening in the DR. The DR government went crazy. They're like, wait, that's not the script we read. Blah blah blah. So anyway, to sum it up, I had to go and meet the president and show him the film and explain stuff, and that went down. Now for part 3, I did the same thing. In part 3, the one, well, Vengeance, I took everything out, all the bad elements out of it in case they came out to audit my script, but they didn't. They let me shoot it, and it was great. And honestly, I am not afraid to show the laundry, our dirty laundry. I feel like the more people see our dirty laundry, hopefully the government or our leaders will change their ways and treat the people differently, or treat or change their ways of government, governing in the country. And mind you, what's happening in the DR is also happening in Mexico. I mean, my film is being seen in Mexico and Colombia, and they're like, "Oh, that same thing happens in my country." So it's not a DR thing; it's a Latin America thing, you know.
I
Um,
honestly think we all have dirty laundry.
yeah,
Everyone has dirty laundry. And thank you for sharing that because that was something that I was curious about. Now, early on, you mentioned the trajectory of this character. Without giving it away, I want to admit to you, he committed these crimes. I won't get
yeah,
into the details. Um, and then we find out something that happened to him
yeah.
during childhood. Uh, in an interview with New York Living, you mentioned that this character, like you said, is based on true story, but you wanted to humanize him. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you that as a viewer, I struggled because I was like, I want to hate him because he's done so many terrible things. And it's almost like he feels like a monster, but he's human too. And it brought me to this. I'm curious about your thoughts. Do you think that as you were writing, and I'm assuming that you went through this in your head, do you believe that monsters are made or born? Do you think people are innately good and something happens to them, or some people are just born evil? Because as a writer, I think about my characters and I think about, how did this happen? Where, the why. What do you think about that?
Well, I no, I truly look at this, and the way I write is, and first of all, I think everybody's born good.
Wow.
Society is what corrupts that person. And in this case, this man is just a kid. I mean, the truth is, my character is a child, and he wants to just be your common man. He wants to be just a regular guy who's trying to get by with life. but society has ruined him. In this case, the government has ruined him. So he's dealing with that corruption because he's just trying to live. He's just trying to live. And at the end of the day, you asked me earlier, that uh, that somehow his world is involved in this cycle, and the cycle continues because that's what he knows. And even though he's trying to change, it's not him. It's society that corrupts him. And I feel like that's in life. I mean, I feel like a baby's born and a baby's beautiful and a baby has and a baby is just lovely. It's a blessing. Then family tries to corrupt the baby. Then all of a sudden the baby learns about colors and he's like, wait, this is bad, this is good. So then in his mind, he's like, well, this is bad, this is good. And that's what happens. I feel like, I feel like we as humans, we gotta watch what we say around kids, and watch what we show the kids nowadays, with this whole crazy phone thing. Anyway.
No, I completely agree with you. And like I said, I don't want to give it away, but you see the cycle repeating at the ends of the third.
Exactly. And it's all,
Yeah.
mind you, and the funny thing is in the third, this character La Soga, this is what he knows. So he's trying to, this is what he knows. So he's trying to teach. Anyway, you got to see the film. What he knows.
I
To
know,
him,
I know, I know it's hard.
him, this
Did you
love.
have I know I don't want to give it away. Did you have any challenges while writing this content because it's strong?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, you said you wanted to hate La Soga. And the funny thing is, I wanted to hate La Soga too, but you can't because you're cheering for him because it's not his fault that he is a monster. He doesn't want to be a monster, but it's not his fault. It's what surrounded him, made him what he is. But at the end of the day, he's just a baby. He's just a child who's just trying to get by with life. So what was your question? I don't know if I answered your question. I'm very passionate.
Did you
Sorry.
have so no, 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 no. I love it. Did you have somos dominicano, imagínate. Did you have any challenges writing this type of content?
No, you know
Was
what's
there
funny?
anything that was particularly difficult?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. With the first script, it took me about 10 years to write it because incident kept changing in the DR, and I wanted to make sure I was true to the events that were happening in the DR. So everything kept changing. So I'm like, oh, I got to change the situation. Now I got to find this other corrupt politician because of what happened in 2 months ago in the DR at the time of me writing part one. Then with part two, it took me 11 years. Why? I didn't want to write part two. I had no idea. I mean, I had no intentions of writing part two. But everywhere I went, especially up here in the Heights, they're like, listen, man, La Soga Loco, parte dos de La Soga Loco. And I'm like, yeah, La Soga Loco. Everywhere I went, even in the DR, they were like, La Soga. I'm thinking, well, how can I bring that character back? So then I wrote about this man in part two just trying to live his life away from his background, away from chaos, into the smallest city he could find, which was Central Falls, Rhode Island. So he lived there, but his past caught up to him. So then I'm like, well, if I write part two, I will have to write part three because I want him to go back to the DR, just to complete the cycle. So when I wrote part two, I already had at the same time I had in mind. So I wrote part two and part three at the same time. So then when I sold part two, I sold it in Toronto. Actually, it premiered in Toronto, which is also a big deal for a sequel to screen in Toronto. When I sold part two, I took that money and ran to the DR and shot part three. So the script in my mind was like, okay, well, part two is in the States. From the States, he goes to DR, and the DR, he'll end up where the cycle starts, where the film began. So it's a little tricky, but I guess that was a
Wow.
challenge for me.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Yeah.
big challenge. Now, as as I mentioned earlier, I came from a Dominican family and I grew up with a certain belief system and values that included what I told you, you can't put out your dirty laundry, lo que pasa en casa se queda en casa, all those old school views. I've had to learn to reframe some of the ways that I think to create the life that I want. Um and it left me uncomfortable at certain points in my life, but I have to live in my own skin, and I can't always live by these old school views. They're just not mine. So in doing so, one of the things that I've realized is that I've had to keep what I need and let go of what does not serve me anymore. As you grew this project, this storyline, this character, did you have any aha moments about the culture, the way you grew up, the politics, belief systems, or anything else? Anything that, was like, wow, like you learned
Well,
about yourself or
yeah, no, it's funny. I'm going to tell you. It came a point in my career that after I had this whole incident that happened with La Soga One, that my family was like, "Hey, man, you need to stop writing those stories where the government is on your ass, because they were on my ass. You need to like write different stories." So I was like, "Okay, well, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that." So I wrote a baseball movie called Ponchao, and I acted in a lot of films, DR films, and but every time I went to DR and every time I turned on the TV and I saw the corruption that was happening there, I was like, man, I can't keep my mouth shut. I need to use this character to tell the world what I feel. So I need to, so this character is part of Manny's feelings, emotions. Manny's passion is within this character. And I also wanted to make sure that in La Soga Vengeance, I kept it true to the culture, true to al final, monumento, like shot it in places where I'm like, this is true to Santiago, lo bailarines. It's very true to the culture. ¿Tú me entiendes? Entonces, so I went back. I'm like, you know what? This is what I got. This is my passion. This is what I feel. I got to do it this way. So so no, I mean, there was a moment where I thought of just stopping that craziness of my passion. But at the end of the day, this is what I feel like I became an actor to leave a message. And I'm using the camera to leave a message, and the pencil. I don't know.
you have different dreams, but essentially you came from DR as a child, went to Rhode Island, went to college, went to acting school. You're living the American dream. You're doing what you love. What message can you leave us with to remind us that anything is possible?
Oh, I mean, I always say the same. I'm going to tell you, I said the same thing everywhere, and I'm going to say it again. I feel like I came from un campo. I mean, we didn't have electricity or water in my campo, and I came here when I was 10. I didn't know. I knew zero English, so I had to learn English. And I feel that if nowadays with the iPhone, I feel like if you come from a different country, or you were born here and you're Dominican or Latino or whatever you are, this is the country where anything is possible. Everything all those dreams you had, it is possible to make it into a reality. If I could do it, and I did it, and I feel like I'm living my dream, even though I still got more to conquer. Man, nowadays with this iPhone thing, they could be president of this country. They could be president of the DR. They could be president of whatever country they come from, because everything is possible. And I do have to, and I'll say this again. I feel like, cuando tú eres dominicano and you get a passport, Eso fue Dios, Dios que te está bendiciendo. So you can come to this country and make that dream a reality con ese pasaporte. And I feel like God is blessing you with a passport to come here. But I also feel, and I hate to say it, that I know a lot of brothers and sisters out there who come here y lo que están buscando es calle, 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 y después lo deportan, and you're like, well, bro, you had your chance. God gave you a passport, and you fucked it up. Te deportaron ahora, te jodiste. And honestly, that's what I feel, and I'm very passionate about that. And it's sad to say, but it's a reality, you know?
It is a reality. You're speaking truth, and I appreciate you for that. You're, like I said before, you're very direct. You're very honest, and you're authentic, and I appreciate that. So
Thank
thank you for sharing that with us. So what is next for Manny Perez?
you. Well, let me repeat this thing again. So people can watch the film. You know, La Soga 3, La Soga Vengeance, is on Tubi for free. Para aquellos que digan, no, yo no pago. It's free. It's also free on Amazon Prime. Free. Tubi is an app. You can get it on your phone, on your TV, on
That's
your
where I watched
computer.
it.
I know it's like a free thing. So everybody should watch it so they know my passion, so they know what I'm about. So they know that, um, this film represents Manny and his passion. So what's next for me? Well, what's next? I did a film that was shot in Atlanta last year in January that comes out hopefully by the end of this year, where I play a priest, which is something something really
That's
uh,
different.
different. I play a priest, which is an interesting character. He's a priest that gives the last rites to people, prisoners on death row. But he realized that when he goes
Wow.
to give this rites, his last rites to the prisoner is the guy who killed his family. So imagine that. So
Oh,
that's something that I'm looking
uh,
forward to. Yeah, and then I'm about to do a film in February down in Argentina, which is pretty cool. I never been there. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I never been there, so that's
I
interesting.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
The
And
last
then I
thing I
have in
saw
the
you in was no, I saw you in
no,
La Soga, obviously, but I just saw you in the last season of Blue Bloods.
yeah, I was in
That
the
was
last season of Blue.
yeah.
I was also, people should watch this film called Sound of Freedom, which is a pretty amazing film. That's actually
Okay.
on Amazon Prime as well. And it's I play this character that is was rough to play, and but people should see it. It's called Sound of
Oh, I have to
Freedom.
check it. Sounds of
Yeah,
Freedom.
yeah.
Okay, I'll check that one out too. Manny, thank you so much. I could keep talking to you. I appreciate your time, your grace. Please share our listeners how they can learn more about you, how they can find out what you're up to.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I have Instagram that I actually check all the time. It's Manny Perez one. That's it, Manny Perez one. I'm there, and I'm also, but that's the one that I also have Twitter, but Twitter's for mostly my
Yeah, that.
news. But Instagram is where I put all that hype. And yeah, and
Awesome.
please check out my
Well,
film,
we
which is
look forward to seeing you in more movies.
thank you.
Absolutely. La Soga and Sounds of Freedom. We will make sure to check it out. Well, I've seen it, but thank you, thank you, thank you so much for everything.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck in all you do. And thank you, listeners, for joining us on this episode of the AW Confidential Podcast. Talk to you soon.